A legal case has been brought against morgue employees who allegedly sewed a voodoo doll into a deceased body. But why are we surprised? After all, Russian soldiers during drone attacks on oil refineries. Friends, they've started targeting oil refineries. They're going to destroy oil refineries in Russia now. And it doesn't matter who's destroying them, the Ukrainian armed forces or Russia itself. It doesn't matter anymore. Because basically all these oil refineries need to be destroyed so that Russia is left without fuel for the winter. Do you understand? This seems like the policy of some third country, not at all like something Russian officials would do themselves. Or do you think Russian officials could actually make such a decision? Now I'll show you how neighboring countries are being drawn into the war. Everyone, of course, has been given orders. Everyone. Zelensky proposed to Poland and Romania to shoot down Russian drones together. That's what Zelensky proposed to Poland and Romania. Well, Poland makes sense, but what does Romania have to do with it? Tell me that. Poland, because Russia keeps trying to send its drones there every day. One drone, then another drone. But Poland and Romania can help Kyiv intercept Russian drones. That's what the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, said. Such decisions could be made jointly. Well, that is, we have air defense systems in place. We shoot them down, that's what Zelensky says. Everything that flies at us and at Poland. And Poland also shoots down with their aircraft everything that flies at them and what flies at us. That's what Zelensky says. Warsaw could join in covering only the western regions of Ukraine from drones where it is possible. Or it could be not only Poland but also Romania. We are not counting on anyone else, that's what Zelensky said during a conversation with journalists on September 19th. This was when the conversation was about the violation of borders, the airspace over Poland. Turkey set an example 10 years ago. A little food for thought. The discussion was about Turkey shooting down a Russian military plane in 2015. Both Romania and Poland last week became targets of provocations from Moscow. See Romania too. First, on the night of September 10th, Warsaw reported an incursion into its airspace. This happened against the backdrop of a massive Russian air attack on Ukraine. On the evening of September 13th, Russian drones, or rather a single drone, entered Romanian airspace near the city of Chilia, close to the border with the Odessa region. Friends, how much longer? How much longer? I just think, my God, I read this news and I've already started calling it not even news from the city of fools, but just foolish news about the foolish people who now inhabit our entire land. It's just foolish news about a foolish people who now inhabit our entire earth. And there's no need to divide them into these and those, us and them. The Lithuanian Minister of Defense called for shooting them down. Russian planes violating NATO airspace. The largest airports in Europe have come under a cyber attack. The Ukrainian armed forces attacked oil refineries in Saratov and Samara. Russia struck Ukrainian cities. 3 people were killed. Half of small businesses will not be able to meet their sales targets this year. The US Senate has prepared a third bill with sanctions against Russia. But what about our friend Trump? So what's up with Fedya Trump? Well, it's not clear, is it? Or is he playing both sides like playing the accordion for everyone? Well, let's dance to the accordion then. In Vladivostok, a case was opened against morgue employees who sewed a voodoo doll into a body. Why are we even surprised? After all, Russian military brought people to our Siberia, to Tatarstan, to Perm, and even to the Far East. They brought a lot of black women, in fact, black people from Africa. They brought everyone, and many of the black women practice voodoo. How else could it be? A morgue worker sewed a voodoo doll into a body. Well, that means a spell was cast on someone else and the doll was sewn into the body. This is a nightmare. It's just a nightmare, my friends. I'm telling you, cremate your relatives, don't bury them, so things like this don't happen. Germany, following Spain, supported the use of Russia's frozen assets to help Ukraine. Well, it's one thing to say that, but Ukraine could simply be receiving help from Russia. But they won't tell you about that. Could they really say openly that Russia is helping? No, it's better to do it through these assets. They froze the assets and gave them to Ukraine. No one can actually do that. No one has the right unless Russia itself agrees to it. The EU plans to give Hungary 550 million euros to enforce Russian energy sanctions. Saudi Arabia, as part of a military alliance with Pakistan, may gain access to nuclear weapons. The whole world will be laughing at this. We'll be holding our sides and laughing. They'll be firing at each other, spitting nuclear missiles. How about that? Latvia has decided to ban regular bus routes to Russia. Well, regular routes, of course, will have an impact. On ordinary people, the general population, no doubt. But the freight traffic, about 600 trucks a day from Russia with Chinese goods. That is, there are huge trucks loaded with Chinese goods standing at the Russian borders, heading to Europe. Well, yes, Russia complains. Why are they banning it? Why have they reduced the freight flow? It's actually the Chinese who are complaining, but Russia is just playing its role. A role, as they say, like a gopher, right? The deputy finance minister stated that old design dollars will soon only be good for lighting a stove. Listen, I thought old design dollars had long since stopped circulating. In general, of course, if you're, say, a bank client and you happen to have some old dollars stashed under your pillow, you can exchange them, I think. But only at a private bank. At a state bank, a large or national bank, like in Switzerland, UBS, the national bank. A national bank that, in principle, is for all the people, for refugees and for all kinds of immigrants as well. That's the national bank, UBS. And there, of course, well, I don't recommend anyone keep their money in UBS. I don't recommend it. Why? Because bank examines all its clients under a microscope. Really, under a microscope. Now, Credit Suisse has also come under the UBS umbrella. That is, UBS bought out, absorbed Credit Suisse. This was done with general approval, and Credit Suisse practically no longer exists, although the clients still exist. That's why national banks are the worst option. These are national banks. Of course, if you're just an ordinary worker, you can use national banks. But know that everything there is scrutinized under a microscope. Everything is reviewed and examined under a microscope, especially foreigners. And they can just put their stamp on it. They can seize your money. They'll ask, where did you get this money from? And you won't be able to explain. You'll try to explain, but those at the top won't be satisfied. And to whom? You won't go to anyone? Because everywhere the system is just about letters. You can only write letters. They might respond to you or they might not. Can you imagine? So now there's no one to go to. There are no such managers in a national bank. But in a private bank, there are. If you reach out to someone, they'll help you. There's nothing like that in the national bank. It simply doesn't exist. Not a single bank employee on site at the local branches will be able to help you because it's already a global system and there's just no way. So this is for the residents of Switzerland and for those who come to Switzerland. I am Tanya Karatsuba, Said Burkan, September 20th, 2025.